Okay, so what we're going to do now is make our arm supports and our arm. I've actually already made this arm using our pattern. Here's the pattern. It's made out of decking boards. This is a 5/4 by 6 decking board. As you can see, it's clear, has no imperfections in it, hand selected, absolutely perfect. That's what you want. You don't want nothing with knots in it or defects. After all, this is that's what we're all about. In the plans, it shows using a 2x6 instead of a 5/4 by 6. In this video, I'm going to be using 5/4 by 6. It's up to you. You can go as per plan says and use a 2x6 and plane it down to 1.1/8, I believe it was, or you could use this. So we've already took our pattern and laid it on there, traced it out, and then we went over here and cut it all out on the bandsaw. After you sand it real good like that, then you router both of the top and the bottom edges with a 3/8 rabbit bit. I mean a 3/8 radius bit. Okay, that's it for the arm. The arm's done. Obviously, you need 2 arms. You would do that one more time, and that would be enough for that. All right, we'll set that aside. And now we're going to make our arm supports, which consists of 2 pieces. These are our patterns. You'll need 2 of these, one for each side. We've already drew that onto our board. Same with this. We're going to need 2 of these, one for each side. We've already transferred that onto these boards, and now we're going to cut them up to shape. Okay, now we're going to take them over here and sand them. Sand these edges a little bit. Try to remove this, round this here off. And a lot of times you won't need, if you make a good clean cut like that, you won't need to sand it very much. All right. Now we're going to put them together. Done with these patterns. Good. They go together like so. Okay. First, we're going to mark this right here. Because what it is, after I put this together, we're not going to be able to run this through the router because this piece will be on it. And you won't be able to run it through the router. So what I do is I mark where I want to router up to, and then I router the edges that we can't router before we put it together. So I'll just mark where I need to stop my router. See, in other words, we don't want to router this edge. You know, you'll router from here up here, but we don't want to router this edge because it's flat. When you put it together, it'll be flat there. These will run both edges, no problem. We can do that right now. But we got these marked, so I know how I want them. And then we'll just mark. Do that. Okay, so now we're going to actually assemble them. What we do is we put one screw here through it, and then we flip it around, we put another screw into here, we have, and then we'll glue it too. So drill that approximately 3/8 of an inch deep. We're going to be putting a screw in, and then we're going to put a plug in there and sand it flush. Here. Same with that, 3/8 inch deep. This, put some glue on. Then on this side where our seats are, this is going to bolt to our seat support. Let me show you over here. Like this. Okay. So we don't want a router here and we don't want a router here because we want that to remain flat so we can bolt it up there. So we'll be coming down this side to approximately right there and then stopping. So that's it. What I did forget to show you was on our patterns we have our holes for where we're going to bolt it to our seat support, and what I like to do is pre-drill those before we actually assemble it to the swing. And this is a 1/4 inch bit. Very dull 1/4 inch bit, very dull. Let's see if I have another one. Yeah, here we go. This is brand new bit I bought from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight Brad bits, don't never buy them. They're dull right out of the package. This, however, was $13.98, brand new. Okay, so that's it for our arms and our arm supports. One final thing, what we're going to do is we're going to put our plugs in, our holes. Okay. That one didn't go in too good. That's because that had some dried glue on it. Then after this dries, we'll just take our flush cut tool and we'll cut this off with that flush and then sand it. Okay, so now we've got our back done. What we're going to do is assemble our seat supports to our back. We've marked where we're going to drill our hole. We're going to put one bolt through each of the boards and that's it. We're not going to glue this joint. You can glue this joint if you want, but if you ever have to take this back off and repair it or just disassemble the swing, you can forget it because this glue will be holding it together. You don't need any glue on this joint anyways because of the way it's designed. It's a very strong joint. have that set. Put this in there like that. Okay, on the plans, I believe it shows using what's called a carriage bolt. For this, I no longer use carriage bolts. It's okay to use a carriage bolt, but when you do, you have to have a very hard wood because the carriage bolt will spin around. It's smooth and there's no way of tightening it except for the nut on this side. So by having a nut on a bolt with a nut on each side, you can tighten it better. So you know, you could change and use these bolts. This is a stainless steel 1/4 inch bolt by 3 inch. Then you put a washer, and this is what's called a stop nut. If you look inside here, you'll see there's a plastic piece. So whenever the threads come through that plastic, the plastic locks around it and it stops right wherever you stop that nut. That's where it stays. It won't back off, it won't tighten, and that's what you want. You want something that's not going to loosen up or ever come off unless you take it off with a wrench. Okay, that's that. Obviously you do that to the other side. Same thing as this. Okay, next what we're going to do is put on our arm support. What I like to do is see how there's a gap on that? I like to take a clamp and clamp it to the table with a clamp. Reason being, we want this flush with the bottom of this. If this is sticking up off the table, then it's going to be hard to line that up. So we'll just take and clamp this down. For some reason it's wanting to stick up right there. Now we know it's tight. Okay. Right here on our seat support, there's an angle cut. Right here where this angle cut is where it's going to be the front of your seat support. So you just line that up with that. Pre-drill it with your 1/4 inch bit. Okay, just like we did our back, we're going to do the same thing. These are 3.5 inch bolts. Okay, and that's it. Okay, on this video we're going to make our seat slats, and we're going to assemble the seat, putting our slats onto the seat supports. To make these slats are very easy. As with any part of this swing, you want good quality wood. You don't want any defects, any knot holes in it. Knot holes and defects will make the weak slat, and you'll sit on it, it'll break. Defects will splinter and warp. So take the time to find good quality wood. What I use is 1x4s or 1x6s, sometimes 1x8, treated naturally, but some good lumber. First of all, you cut them to length. In this case, there's 48 inches. And then you run it through the saw. Set the saw at the thickness of the slat. You set that, and then you just run the saw and cut them. I'm not going to actually do it. I've already made these, but it's very simple. I mean, you just run the board through, and you cut it to this width. And then after that, we'll take and router it, both edges and on the ends, with our router table right here. Okay, basically just run it through like that. Do that way. Yeah. You want all the top surfaces rounded. Okay. A lot of my competitors, they won't do that. They'll just run it through the saw and just put it on the swing. Okay. After that, what we'll do is pre-drill the holes. I like pre-drilling the holes because it keeps the ends from splitting. If you don't pre-drill it, a lot of times it'll just split the wood and then you ruin your slat. So what we'll do to I'll show you how to mark them, and then I'll show you how to drill them. So, and also I forgot to mention, there's two slats, seat slats, that are cut short. They're not 48 inches. They're actually 45 7/8 inch. It's 46 inches from here to here. We cut it an 1/8 inch shy, so when moisture makes the wood expand, it won't bind up inside the two pieces here. You want it a little loose. You don't want to put it real tight in there. You want a little expansion in there. So you got two slats that are cut short and 8 slats that are full length. That makes a combined total of 10 slats you're going to need. So on the long slats, what we do is I set my gauge to 1 3/4 inches. Okay? This kind of stuff's not going to be on the plans. I mean, so goes here, go like this, mark it, and that'll be where I'm going to pre-drill our hole. The hole in the center is actually in the center, so this is 48 inches, so you mark 24 inch, and that'll be where your center screw goes. Okay. I've already pre-drilled a lot of these. I'm just going to do 2 so you can see on camera how to do it. You got to kind of be careful with this. This is a bevel drill bit. It has a bevel for the screw head. You don't want to go too far in. You want to go just to where the screw. Just like that, where when you put the screw in, it'll be flush, or just a little bit below. You don't want any screws sticking up above the surface. And I just eyeball it in the middle. I mean, if you want to get ridiculously accurate, you can mark the middle of each one of these. I don't find that necessary. Okay. So another thing we do before we assemble these slats is we're going to mark two slats. because we got this piece here that's floating, and we want to make sure it's in the center. So for the back, we got this full piece, and then for the front, I got this piece. All right, we know that this is 24 inches to the center. It's going to be 24 inches from the end of our slat to the center of this. We know it's 24 inches. So we'll subtract 3/4 of an inch, and that'll give us 23 1/4. So you mark this 23 1/4. And I put a little pencil mark on there. What that's going to do is it's going to tell me when I put this on where to position this. I could look at that pencil mark and that'll tell me. Same with the front. I have a pencil mark on that. When I go to put this on, I'll know how to, that this is where the edge of that needs to be. Okay? So, what we'll do is, I like to initially just take everything off and just put the back one and the front one on, and then put the rest of them in. Reason why I don't put the arms on now is because if I had the arm on here, it would get in the way of my fastening these screws. You could do it, I've done it before, but you tend to put your drill at an angle, and you don't want that. You want it to go in straight. So that's why we're doing the slats first. Okay, what I've also done, you can get a shot of this. I've marked this point on this piece, so I know how far to put this back. Okay. All right. So what I usually do is I put the back slat on first. I kind of line this one up about where it's going to be. And then, these are stainless steel screws. These are 8 by 1 5/8. I just kind of start them like that. It's a lot easier. Then we're using our favorite glue. It's not my favorite. My favorite is actually epoxy, but it's a little bit too expensive. So this is some really good stuff. And what I'll do is I'll put some on there. Notice how I stay away from the edges. We don't want this oozing out. We just want enough there to actually be. I had a friend of mine ask me, why do you glue and screw them? If you're screwing it, why do you need glue? Well, you don't actually. But if you want to make a better quality product, you'll add glue into it. And how does that make it better? I'll tell you why. Because this is wood. Wood doesn't like moisture. Moisture tends to build up where two pieces of wood are together, and the moisture likes hiding in there. By taking the glue and eliminating that space there, the moisture can't get in and out of that joint. Therefore, it makes a better quality swing. Moisture will eventually damage all parts of the swing. Anything you can do to eliminate that is what you want to do. Okay, so we've got our spacer here. We know our overhang is going to be 1 inch. I have a 1 inch piece of block here. I'll put that on there and line it up flush, so I know that's where that's going to go. And then I always feel it. If you can feel the screw sticking up, hit it again where it doesn't. Okay? Now, do I need my spacer over here? No, I don't. We only space it on one side. This is already done here. There's no way I can move this back and forth anyways. So this is where it goes. Push it back to here as much as you can, and then put it in. Okay. Okay, now this one's a little tricky. I got my line here, and I got my line here on my slat. Get that in there. And that's it. Okay. Here's something else you gotta watch. You want to make sure this measurement from here to here is the same as this measurement from here to here. Sometimes, for whatever reason, when you assemble this, they'll want to go like this, or one will want to go like that. You want to make sure that that's the same measurement. Okay, this is, so we don't have to do anything. If it wasn't the same measurement, we would take a block or something. Okay, say this is cut to length, and you would put it in there like that. Okay, but we don't need to. This is correct measurement. Okay, so here's our other one. We'll do the same thing with that. What we're doing is we're putting this slat button up against here. That's where we know it's got to go. It's got to touch that. We don't want it down like that. We just slide it up to there, put our spacer in there, flush it up, and then put it in. Over here, here's our mark on the front, so we got to move this over. Put it in there like that. So now we can put the remainder 8 slats in. We'll take our short ones, put it between here. Got 2 short ones. And we'll take, well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Hold on. I like to take and put these, put these on first. You can put them on afterwards, but I like putting them on first. Alright, so do what that is. These here are real easy to do. You just put them on there. The only thing you have to do is, those 2 there were the hardest ones to put on. Just take and do the same thing here. And all you got to do is line this up flush. If you look down through there, I put like a little space in between them. You don't want these too tight right here. You want them both to be able to expand and contract too. And you can just kind of eyeball that, as long as it's even. Okay. Take her. 4 down, 6 to go. Two short ones. And the rest long. Now, we want to evenly space these, okay? Because I'm not absolutely perfect, you have to find out how these are going to work, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. This is a spacer I have. It's made out of a 7/16 piece of plywood. You could use anything. You could use drill bits, shims, whatever you're comfortable with, as long as it's the same spacing. When you look at the swing, you want all the spaces to be the same. And I've found that this typically works. So what I do before I finish this is I'll check it. I'll go through with my spacer and see how it looks. So I'll put it on there like that. Okay, so that's going to be too tight. So if I run this all the way up, we'll try that. That's also going to be too tight. So 2, 3. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll that's close. But what we'll do is we'll space it this way now. That. What that'll do is when you go to sit on this, you really don't want this slat up here, because what it's going to do is it's going to make a space for the back of your leg that's going to be higher than this. You want that to kind of have a space there anyway. So if you have any space other than these normal spaces, put it here, and that'll make it comfortable to begin with. So that's what we'll do. We'll take this, we'll put that for our first one, and then we'll use this drill bit for the remainder of it. And then I'll show you how to take up that and make it look perfect. Let's try that. You just got to work with it, you know, before you do it, making sure what works best. Okay, so this is a 5/16 drill bit, and we're going to use that for a spacer. And we'll just check it, make sure it works out. It's almost perfect. Okay, so once we know that's correct, I like putting on 2 of them at a time. So I'll put my stuff in here for my screws for 2 slats. These slats here are very easy to install too. As you can see, they go in between these. What you want to do is you want to center it in there and then screw it. You could just use your eyeball to center it. You don't have to measure it or anything. Space here, a little space there, that's all we want. A little here, a little there. Take our spacer, put it in there. Same with this, spacer. Put enough in here for 2 more. Okay, this one's going to have an overhang, so we're going to have to start using our spacer here. Put our spacer in there, make sure it's flush here with our overhang block. You have to be kind of careful with this impact drill. You can strip these screws out, and then once you strip the screw out, you're going to have to use a longer screw. So that's why when I pre-drill these, I try to make it to where I don't have to torque on it too much. You don't really want to do that. You can strip these out real easy. Look how crazy that is right there. That's why you use spacers. If you don't use these spacers and you just try to put them on, it'll look ugly. And that's what most of this stuff is. It's all about making everything look balanced, you know, even, the same as this side looks the same as this side. This space here is the same as this space here. These spaces are all the same. Even if they're not the same, you try to make it look the same. You want it to be appealing to the eye. You don't want something sticking out, notifying the person that you didn't take time to build it right. What I like to do in these last two is just double check it and make sure it's still working out right. As you can see, this is too tight now. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to make this looser by, instead of using the whole spacer, I'll put the spacer in there and then I'll pull it back just a little. Come over here and check these, pull it back just a little. And that'll give you the appearance that it is perfect, but it's actually not. Okay, and then I'll come down here and check it. This side's fine. I'm actually going to have to make it wider over here. See? That's how you make something not perfect look perfect. Over here we're going to have to shorten it up a little. Over here we're going to have to widen it up a little. But whenever we get done, it's all going to look good. Okay, so since we're doing these two at a time, we're going to do two at a time with the glue. And a lot of this unevenness, when you're building it, you would think, well, you know, you designed it perfect. Yeah, I did, but these slats aren't exactly perfect widths. For example, when you cut a 1x4 in half, all 1x4s aren't going to be exactly 3.5 inches. You know, some will be 3.5, some will be 3 5/8. You know, you want to take the time and make sure each one of these is down to the perfect width. You can do that. I find it's a whole lot easier just to space them and deal with putting them in, spacing them. Okay, like I said, we want to make this a little tight, so we'll put this here like that. We'll bring it back just a hair. Okay, right here, what I like to do on that last one, just take a straight edge like this. Put it back. And just use this as a gauge and find it where it's going to be appealing to the eye. Okay, let's check our middle, see how that is. Okay, we're going to have to squeeze these together a little bit too. So put that in there. Squeeze that together. Put that here. Now these here, a little too wide, so what we're going to do is we're going to cheat and make this a little wider there. I like to cheat, and that's my wife. Alright, so here we go, we're eyeballing this to the center, and there we go. The only one that's going to know this is narrower than this one will actually be myself. The average person won't even notice that. As long as you make it look even, they're fine with that. Okay, now that we got our seat done, we can put our arms on. We've already got our arms made. We actually just have to fit them and put them on here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting this out to intercept this. This will be going inside this board. The reason I do that is, again, quality. You know, if you just do a butt joint to this, it's not as strong. Simple as that. And it actually looks better. Okay, so I've already done that side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this side and show you how to do it. This is not on the plans. You're going to want to make a block like this. This is a 1-inch thick block. Approximately, the width doesn't matter. This is about 2.5 inches, I think. But this does matter. Okay, this does matter. What that's going to do is it's going to determine the height. Okay. And when you put this on here, because this is tapered, if you slide it back, it's going to be lower. If you slide it forward, it's going to be higher. So what you want to do is take your block, and you want it to intersect this, just like that. Okay? And that's where you're going to put it, just like that. Okay, what that does is it holds this end up while we're marking this and fitting it. It also puts it at the correct height, the same height as that. Here we go again. We want this to be the same height as that. So when you look at it, It appeals to the eye. Okay, so as you can see, the grain is cupped like this. You want the outside of the tree, or the cupped side of the tree, you want that on top. Okay, then we'll set it on here. We want this overhang to be 3¼ inch. Okay. Okay. So now that we know our overhang's 3¼ inch, what we'll do is we'll center it with our hands. We'll center this piece on here. This isn't on the plans either. On the plans, it actually shows you where this is. You could possibly do that and still be successful building it. What I like to do is a little bit more accurate, is to do it this way and to center this with your fingers, feeling it, you know, one way or the other where you want it to be, and you can kind of feel it where it needs to be. And then you just take a pencil and mark underneath it. That. And there you have it. Okay. And that's what we're going to be taking this out 1/4 inch. Okay. Set this over here, that. Put our clamp on it, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. We've got our 1/2 inch bit set at 1/4 inch deep. Tell you what, I'm going to move this over here where I can kneel down on this rubber mat, because I'm 62 years old. My knees don't like concrete. I also forgot, I just told you I was 62 years old, and I can't see very good either. So I'm going to put my glasses on. Perfect. To mark this, what we're going to do is take a piece of 3/4 inch block, put it in there like that. Both ways, 3/4. 3/4 from here, 3/4 from there. Keep it simple. Don't need to get out here and measure and all that. Okay. Take and drill these. Now, this is kind of tricky here. You've already reduced this board from 1 inch to 3/4 by taking out 1/4 here. So you only got 3/4 of an inch board left. So you really don't want to go down there on this plug no more than 1/4 inch, 3/8 at the most. You just have to be careful not to run it all the way through. And just check it. Just check it every once in a while. And that's not deep enough. Perfect. Drill our hole. What you want to do is you want to mark the center of the board there, the center of the board here. Okay, we've got our arm made. Now all we got to do is drill our 1/4 inch hole. And what we'll do is we'll put our arm back on there, and I'll show you how you mark it. Okay, so what we have is routed out our space for here. We're going to go ahead and put this on the swing. I've marked the holes where we're going to put our screws, and I'm going to pre-drill it with this 1/8 inch bit. Then we're going to take our number 10 countersink. We're going to countersink this about 1/4 of an inch, a little bit more, maybe 5/16. Just enough so we can put a wood plug in there, just like this. Alright, then we're going to put it back on here. That. And then we're going to mark for our hole here. I like to do it this way rather than try to pre-drill it, because you can get more. You really want the bolt to be right in the center of this. It won't look right if it's not in the center of this piece, so I try to make it as accurate as I can. And what I'll do is I'll just mark this. I'll mark the center of this. Like that. And then I'll take a square, put it in there against this. And that gives me a line to guide when I drill my hole. I'll know I want it to have it just like that. So take it off, and then we'll mark the center of this. I usually just eyeball it. That. And then first for our washer. Our washer is 5/8 round, so we're going to hit it just deep enough for our washer to go in. And while we're drilling it, we're going to use these lines to guide our bit straight. We're going to use them lines. And actually make sure we plug it in. enough for that washer to seat in there. Then I'll drill halfway through here. I'll come around here, using this as a guide. And there you have it. Now we're going to put it on here. It goes. That. What I'll do is I'll take a piece of scrap wood and put in here like that. So when this bit goes through, sometimes it tends to jump through there and then you'll damage your slat. So I'll put this in here to stop that. Alright, so we no longer need our block. I'm going to take this block out. Like that. We'll take our glue and glue this on. Again, you have to be real careful putting these screws in. You don't want to over tighten them because this is end grain and it'll strip right out. You have to be real careful not to over tighten them. Okay. And we'll fasten our bolt. And I like to use these, they're called stop nuts. If you look in there, you can see a plastic piece in there that grabs the threads. Once you put it on, this nut won't tighten or it won't loosen. It'll stay right there. It's called a stop nut. Wherever it stops, that's where it stops. That's why they call it a stop nut. You don't want nuts and stuff, bolts falling apart on your swing. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get some plugs, plug this up. We're going to put wood plugs in there just like this, and then what I do is I let it dry at least 24 hours, and then I'll come by and cut and finish it. So I'm going to show you how I do that. This is a tool I use to cut the plugs off with. You could actually damage the wood pretty good with this if you don't use it properly. You want to make sure it's really flat on there. If you tilt it one way or the other, it'll gouge right into that wood and ruin the whole board. And after that, I'll take my belt sander and sand this. Then I'll take this sander here and I'll finish sand it with a finer grit. Okay, and that's that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to put our seat supports on. What I do is to flip it over. Like that. This is something I designed to help sturdy the swing in between the two supports. Keeps the slats from moving up and down like that, and it just stabilizes this centerpiece. A lot of my competitors would not do something like this. They would just leave this piece out completely. I think it adds better quality to the product, so that's what I do. And what you do is you just center it up, measure in between here, make sure this space equals this space, and put it in the center. I've already marked it where it goes here, so I'll just line it up like that. And then I'll just roughly put where I want to put one screw at. Alright, so the screws we're going to use here are 1¼ inch, number 8 by 1¼ inch. So I got my number 8 pre-drill. And what you want to make sure is you drill all the way through the board. So when you drill that screw in, it'll just grab this board. It won't be trying to grab this board and that board. You don't want to drill too deep. You want just enough for the head of the screw to go in there and just enough where it comes through. If you pre-drill this too deep, when you go to run your screw through, that point's going to come up in the seat, and obviously you don't want that. screws that I use for that. I'm going to take and put some glue on here. That. And like that. What I like to do is start with this one first. Sometimes you have to get a clamp put on there. Let's see if this will work. No, it ain't gonna work. I'll have to cut that out. But what we'll do, I like to start here on this one here and make sure it fastens first. See how when I touch it there, the board comes off here? That's why I want to fasten this one first. Once I get this fastened, I'll be able to come over here and put my clamp. And by clamping that and having this fastened and clamped, it'll make all these flat. Okay. Put there. Okay, so now that we got that done, the next step is to install our rails that go on here. We've got one rail that goes here, one that goes here. So we take those. Put them on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten this one on, then we're going to take this one off, and because we have to have one of them off to put it in our seat here, we're going to have one of these off. But what I like to do is pre-drill it so that when I go to assemble it over there, all I have to do is line it up and put the screw in. So first thing we want to do is we want to make sure this is centered on our rails. So this distance from here to here, we want to be the same as from there to there. Okay. Watch out, Jack. Okay, so so we've positioned our rails on there just like you see them. Even amount of distance here. Even amount of distance here. This distance here, same as this distance. On the back one, we're having this board actually extends past here 3/8 of the inch. Okay. Then we got them all in place. We're going to pre-drill with our drill bit. This is what we're going to use to fasten these pieces with. On the plans, we go ahead and pre-drill our holes. Now here's a situation where the rail is a little bowed, our timber's a little bowed. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our fastener in here and then go down there and clamp that and then put our fastener in there. See that little bit of rattling made this move over. So you always got to make sure. Like I said before, we're going to fasten this and then we're going to take it off. It's a whole lot easier doing it now than it is trying to do it over there. So when we take this off, how are we going to know where to put it when we reassemble it? Well, pencils come in handy. You just mark it. I mark on the center where it goes on 2 sides, and that's all you need. Okay, so we're going to take it back off. That. We'll put this line back here. Now, forgot to mention our chain that we use. This is a galvanized 3/16 proof coil chain. This is 13 links. This is 9 links, 9, 13. I typically put it on 12. Some people that like to lean back more will put it on 13. But I'm going to put it on 12. No, I'll just put it on 13. We'll just take it, put it up there. You're probably asking yourself, why is this a darker color than this? That's because I've already put the exterior finish on this, and I haven't done the seat yet. Okay, so here we go with this. What we do is we get a clamp. Slide this back. Where I can get my drill in there. All right, so putting this back rail on, what I did is I put the screw in just enough where when I set the swing on there, you can guide it and put it into the hole. It's also marked here where it goes. So using these guidelines and these screws that are just brought up enough to go in the hole, and we'll line it up.